In this video I'm going to talk about Concord. I want to actually share why kind of fresh, and basically of course there are lots of controversy about the game. For those who don't know, Concord was shut down permanently, so this is a game that you won't be able to play. And the reason for that is of course there were high development costs, reportedly around 400 million. I read something around 200 million, nonetheless a high cost for developing this game, which is again one of the more expensive games that ever made, from my understanding. And despite this investment, it failed to generate significant revenue. I mean, the game launched with underwhelming sales, with a peak of only 697 concurrent players on Steam. So yeah, it didn't attract enough players to sustain its live service model. And this is why many consider it one of the most disastrous fails in gaming history. There's no doubt that things related to the design and marketing also failed to resonate with the target audience, and eventually the result was the game shutting down. Well, there are many reasons for that. First of all, it costs $40. Anyway, it's a game that there are many other hero shooters out there that are free to play. I think this was a big mistake. I think even those who actually saw this told themselves, I'm not even going to play the beta because I'm not going to jump and pay for this game anyway. This is why the game hasn't drawn even lots of players into the beta. And I think at this point, the developers saw that this is not going in the right direction. I mean, this is a game that was 8 years in development. Some even mentioned that the developer tried to kind of use 70s sci-fi kind of a look. Another kind of bad character design choices that didn't resonate with the players. Some also mentioned that one of the reasons for that was it's in quotation woke character design and pronouns. However, the real issues I think lies in the intense online hate campaign that launched actually against this game. And I think that was so loud it's actually overshadowed the game's actual quality, which are good things. We're going to talk about this in this video. Some also blame the lack of marketing, that the gameplay doesn't really stand out enough to differentiate itself from other games, other hero shooters. Some say it's kind of rip-off of Guardians of the Galaxy, which I have to admit, there are similarities of course. And it also, I think, landed in quite a tough release time, with Wukong coming that actually had like 2.2 million concurrent players, which I play myself, and it's an amazing game and I really enjoy. Of course, this is not a hero shooter, but definitely people saw this and their attention was actually on other games that, highly anticipated games. And I also read that Deadlock was actually announced at the same night that Concord was released, again, something that kept players' interest into other very highly anticipated games. And one of them, of course, Deadlock, was made by Valve. So yeah, it's a combination of many things that actually led to the game failing at the end. But there are some good things, and let's move on to talk about what I liked about the game, after talking more generally about some of the reasons that probably led this game to fail. Usually, again, if you release a game and it doesn't work well, it takes some time, but due to the very poor performance, Sony decided to pull Concord offline after just 2 weeks and permanently shut it down, and also shut down Firewalk Studios. This was a huge blow for Sony, but was the game really that bad? Well, I played it a lot, and I told you, I had a lot of fun playing this game. I also really liked different hero abilities, although I really didn't like their design. I mean, even just this robot that you see here, I mean, what is that? I mean, just inject a bit of personality into the design of the game. But let's put that aside and let's talk about how it felt when it comes to gunplay. So gunplay felt great. I really like the different weapons. Even here you can see Lark. I think it's Lark, yeah, with this cool weapon. Kind of floating orbs that kind of stick in there and can just follow the other players if they get close to it. Kind of like homing floating mines. And that by itself was actually a really cool weapon to play, because again, it's all about different positioning, and the map actually was designed well to complement the different weapons. So it really was fun playing them and finding kind of the good spot to actually position your hero and use the weapon to your advantage. I mean, instead of just shooting, straight on shooting, you can actually zone enemies out using this. So if somebody wants to flank, for example, you can just shoot, quite a few balls there. If they try to push, of course, they're going to get hit. So you kind of force them to go in a slightly another route. So it was very interesting playing with this weapon, and it was pretty powerful if you use well. And Baz, for example, was also a fun hero to play. So she's kind of the sneaky, deadly assassin, and you really feel the way they design with the hands, so she feels kind of a deadly. Look how she kind of, when she jumps, you can actually see it in third person, and you see the knives, and just give you a good feeling when you kind of sneak on somebody and able to kind of, deal damage to them, eliminate them. It just feels great.
Someone help me out!
Also enjoy playing Do because again he has really cool weapons. It was amazingly accurate and it really sounds also great and was great for mid-range. And another thing, generally speaking, there was kind of weight for the character that you felt. I usually don't feel something like that, but I think they did it, of course, in purpose. So tinkier characters kind of move slower, but you feel it throughout the movement, not just the speed, but throughout the movement of the character. So each character has their own weight. It was quite significant when you play. So, for example, the assassin felt kind of floaty a bit, with the jump and stuff, and Do felt something like in the middle. In One Off, of course, felt heavy. He's a tank, but it has very powerful and unique, by the way, weapons you can use to kind of suck in things and throw them onto enemies. And basically, it felt very like a tank. So basically each hero felt unique and pretty special in their own right and feel different. And this is actually why I mentioned when I played the game that I actually enjoy playing all of these heroes because they really felt unique and interesting to play compared to other shooters which I usually choose 2 or 3 and just stick with them. Now, there's also something about the size. You can see Do, for example, was pretty large compared to the others in terms of the hitbox. Now, some people complain about the character design, but I actually found him, considering it was mid-range, and was pretty deadly with his weapon, so making his body bigger should be easier to hit. It was actually a smart idea. Yeah, so thinking about that aspect of the game design, when I played him, I thought, right, I'd actually okay to design him like that, kind of bigger compared to the others, because I felt really that I have advantage in terms of accuracy of the weapon, and also I need to be in mid-range, so felt like a good design. Also, by the way, same to 1.0, for example, the tanky one needs to be kind of bigger. Many, by the way, tank characters are made bigger also in Overwatch, so, they'll be easier to hit, but you can also feel more intimidating. But at the same time, they're also more durable. They usually have higher HP. And some other abilities that make them less susceptible to damage and have higher defensive capabilities. Now other characters like Izzy, Keeps, for example, and Lennox were kind of a more agile and, for example, Lennox was a duelist and kind of deadly like McCree in Overwatch, which is now called Cassidy, and basically these are kind of smaller characters that fight, they are very, they're deadly, they can deal lots of damage, but at the same time it's harder to hit them, so they are designed like that to be thinner in size, smaller hitbox, and yeah, this was a good choice. So when I look at those things and I pay attention to that when I play the game, I actually thought that it's very well designed, very well balanced. So again, these things you cannot ignore. Some of the things designed very well, and you just feel it. Also, the sound effect, the visual effects, and the map design, everything just kind of came in place together. Some of the abilities I didn't like, by the way, like this was, for example. I don't know, something about them just felt off. But there are many things in this game that worked very well. There's also a good pace for the game. You didn't feel like it's getting out of control. Like, for example, when I play Overwatch, it's so chaotic and messy. This kind of sits something in between because it feels a bit slower, more tactical compared to when I play, for example, Overwatch. In a second, like, a monkey flying above you and it's several crazy ultimates going on and you just have no idea what's going on. I mean, when you play more, you have get more sense of things and understanding, but still it can be very chaotic. But this game was more tactical, more methodical. That's how it felt. And yeah, that's why I felt that this game was actually really fun to play. Aside from that, there was also the card system. The cards, basically, you can create a team, and each one has their own buffs. And basically, if you combine different characters, you can come up with some kind of builds. I think it was kind of. I mean, I like the idea, but I didn't feel it really stretched it far enough to really make it significant. I really like something that is, if you're already introducing like kind of a card system, something that can influence the different stats of the character, just take it, a bit to the next level, rather than something simplistic as we've seen, right? But they did plan to add more heroes, and basically you can have kind of a combination of heroes in the team that you can create, that you can use in the combat. So it actually designed well. So if you use them, you're actually limiting the amount of heroes you can actually choose in the game. So this was actually a nice idea. So you want to get your certain character strong in that aspect, you won't be able to play that character, for example, if you want to maximize certain abilities. Although it seemed kind of like, all right, why even introduce something like that? But the thing is that it adds kind of more another dimension to the game, because there are some really let's say significant disadvantages for some of the heroes, but if you take them kind of you create a certain build, you kind of patch it out and you can create a very strong one, but this is balanced because you won't be able to choose some other heroes to play, to choose them. And this is important because people can change heroes during the game. So this is a way to counter somebody. So if you go with a certain hero, a certain build, for example, with creating your group, I forgot how it's called, other people can actually have another advantage that you won't be able to counter if you create a certain build. So you think about, all right, how we create one that I can switch to another hero and have good advantage with that hero if somebody goes with maybe kind of a meta play with a certain hero which is very powerful. In other words, there are ways to actually break the meta in certain ways rather than just accepting that there's one character who is by default so powerful and you cannot do anything about that. So I see this as a counter meta feature that you can always allow players to create something slightly different to counter maybe heroes that maybe feel unbalanced or pretty strong, to give you an advantage if you design things properly and know how to counter certain meta builds, another meta builds, and bring something new to the battlefield. So basically it felt that it's a nice feature that add more dynamic to the game. But I personally think that they should have taken it to the next level. Maybe they're just kind of afraid of breaking things completely with some maybe combinations. But this is kind of a thing that they can easily control because they know how much you can actually stretch things out with different combinations, so they won't become kind of overpowered and totally broken. Which is a fair thing, by the way, because then you can actually benchmark things and kind of have more control over the balancing of the game rather than having something that just completely breaks the game. Because again, at the end of the day, it's going to be very hard to balance, especially if new heroes and there are many other variables. So I can understand this decision. Although I still think that they could have made it better. This is why I think that although the game is not with us anymore, that it's important to mention the things that I think the developers done really well in this game, and they did in many parts of the game. The game was really fun to play because of the things that I actually mentioned here. Although even that, taking everything into account, sometimes you need to take more drastic measures in order to make a shooter stand out for the rest. Yes, although I did enjoy playing the beta, it wasn't enough for me to actually jump into the game or to justify buying the game, and eventually I didn't buy the game. But I had time with the beta and I wanted to highlight the good things that I enjoy playing this game. Thanks for watching.